I'm Dr. Karen Curitin, a naturopathic physician, acupuncturist, and passionate neural retraining expert. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my journey with illness and recovery and how neural retraining helped me on that healing journey. I hope my story inspires you and allows you to trust in your own capacity to heal. So I'm going to start at the beginning of my story. Throughout my childhood and teenage years, I was quite healthy and very high functioning. And right before I got sick, I was a star student pursuing a double pre-med major, working in a research laboratory, and maintaining a part-time job. I also played on the club soccer team and loved working out at the gym, and I had an active social life. So I got sick at the age of 19, and it seemed to be very sudden and for what seemed like no apparent reason at the time. I suddenly just became so tired that I had to sleep like 16 hours a day, and I could barely get myself to my college classes and other obligations. And just generally, I felt like all of my life force and my joy and my motivation just drained out of me. And over the next 3 to 6 months, I developed hot flashes, night sweats. I lost 2/3 of my hair and most of my muscle mass, despite my diet actually becoming healthier and my workout routine remaining the same. I also developed anxiety, intense irritability for no apparent reason, brain fog, lack of libido, and debilitating digestive bloating and cramping that plagued me every day. My sweat suddenly smelled horrendous, and my periods became irregular. And as a result of all this, I had to let go of all of my favorite things to do because I just didn't have the energy for them. So that included playing soccer, going to the gym, running, going out with my friends, eating out, and even some of the basics like taking more shifts at work or being able to make it to my college classes. I barely had enough energy to handle the obligations that I had stacked on my plate, but I was also trying to maintain a long distance relationship. And I probably should have died multiple times from falling asleep at the wheel on the way to visit my boyfriend who lived 3 hours away. So, as you can see from me telling you about my life, that I was an intense overachiever. And this was part of my problem. I put so much pressure on myself to succeed to my parents' standards that I had not even considered what I wanted for myself yet. And right before my health collapsed, I also had a few traumatic experiences that left me feeling unloved, unsafe, an intense amount of shame and guilt that I carried for over a decade after that. At the same time, I also had a toxic mold exposure, but I didn't realize that's what it was at that time because nobody was really talking about that yet. And I had been unwittingly poisoning myself with fluoroquinolone antibiotics for the frequent urinary tract infections that I got back then. Didn't know about that for a long time to come either. And so, to everyone else at this time in my life, I looked normal, but I felt like an unhealthy 65-year-old on the inside. I was such a mess that I started to question if I could actually achieve my dreams. Like, I thought maybe I would have to settle for some crappy job that I didn't like because I wouldn't be able to get through higher education to what I truly wanted to do. So, I decided to take a year off of college to consider my options and try to recover. And right before that, part of what spurred that is I started to work with a naturopathic physician who helped me to start putting the pieces back together. She was the first doctor that really took my page-long list of symptoms seriously. All the MDs had just said, your basic tests look normal, so it must be all in your head. You should just go see a psychiatrist and come back when you have real problems. Does that sound familiar to any of you? Since that time, I have heard from hundreds of people who have been through the same dismissive treatment by the conventional medical system, and it's a tragedy and something that I am trying to change in the paradigm that exists in our country around medicine. And because this ND that I worked with was the first one to give me hope, respect, and a path towards healing, I decided to become a naturopathic physician and acupuncturist myself so I could help others in the same way. Little did I know that in pursuing that, I was continuing my overachiever pattern and it would take me right back down into the toilet, along with more traumatic experiences that I would have during medical school and more toxic mold exposures. And this time I would develop new debilitating symptoms, including insomnia, depression, a whole bunch of food intolerances, chemical sensitivity, mold sensitivity, EMF sensitivity, viral, bacterial, fungal, and parasitic chronic infections, intense sensitivity to light and sound, so much so that I had to wear sunglasses under fluorescent lights, including in my classes. That was not my finest moment. Chronic SIBO and SIFO. I also had all over body aches, skin rashes, and severe itching, chronic sinus headaches, and mast cell activation syndrome, which caused all those rashes and itching, but a lot of other unpleasantries as well. So over many years, I tried every healing approach under the sun, nature cure, basic naturopathic and functional medicine, acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine, chiropractic, a lot of different types of energy work, somatic work, shamanic healing, EMDR, talk therapy, psychedelic therapy, and so much more. It ended up taking me a total of 15 years, a medical education, and over $500,000 to figure out the root causes of my symptoms. And then it would take me another 2 years to address all those root causes and get myself well. Along the journey, I lost my identity as a strong, capable, athletic, intelligent woman completely to the illness. I lost a ton of relationships and struggled to maintain even a few friendships at a time. I lost most of my favorite hobbies because of exhaustion and depression. So, hiking, biking, camping, playing soccer, going to the gym, dancing, having sex. And I certainly lost the feelings of joy, excitement, freedom, and optimism. And the reason none of the approaches that I tried to resolve these issues for me, the reason none of them did that for me is because they were not addressing the root causes, which for me were number one, limbic system dysfunction or nervous system dysregulation due to my learned stress programs from childhood, combined with a number of traumatic experiences and living in the state of chronic stress for many years. Number two, toxic mold exposure. 3, fluoroquinolone toxicity, which damaged my mitochondria. And number 4, nutrient deficiencies, which were not identified on blood work, but that I found out about in other ways. Once all of these were addressed, boom, everything started to resolve. And now I have rid myself of anxiety, depression, PTSD, chronic fatigue, sinus issues, headaches, many food sensitivities, chemical sensitivity, light and sound sensitivity, EMF sensitivity, all the chronic infections, including SIBO and SIFO, body aches, and probably a lot more that I'm not even remembering. After some suffering in some way or another for 17 years, it felt like truly a miracle. And I know it would not have happened without addressing my nervous system dysregulation by rewiring the subconscious patterning that was keeping me stuck in it. So using neural retraining to address the mental and emotional patterns that were contributing to my nervous system dysregulation, I was able to resolve the chronic anxiety, depression, my low sense of self-worth, guilt, shame, trauma, my overachiever pattern, perfectionist tendencies, the tendency to overgive and please other people at the expense of myself, my terrible lack of boundaries, some body image issues, obsession with my health and symptoms, and so much more. Neural retraining turned out to be the key that finally allowed me to make progress with healing. All of this lifted me out of chronic fatigue, brought joy, optimism, inspiration, and passion back to me, reduced or eliminated most of my symptoms, and allowed all of my other medical treatments that I was using to address the other root causes to actually work. Up until this point, I was spinning my wheels, and neural retraining was the key that allowed me to make consistent forward progress. But for me, it wasn't just any neural retraining program or approach that got the job done. I tried many different approaches before finding just a few that gave me the profound results that I just listed. For me, it was critical to rewire the traumas from my past that set my subconscious up to feel unsafe all the time. It was also critical for me to rewire the neurological roots of those draining, overachiever, perfectionist, people pleasing, and low self worth patterns. And most brain training methods simply cannot do that, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing the approaches that can. And that's why I do what I do now. Through my own healing experience, it has become my passion to empower people with the knowledge and skills that lead to true healing, not just the suppression of symptoms. And that's why I offer the most effective approaches to neural retraining and the naturopathic healing techniques that really work in the Wired for Wellness program. And it continues to grow and become more valuable every day. So I want to help you heal as quickly as possible so you don't have to go through what I went through. So that is why I do what I do. And I hope that I inspired you and got you motivated to try something new. But don't just take my word for it. Watch my testimonial videos from clients of mine who have healed using this approach. And if you know that you're ready to get started, click the link below to start working with me. I so look forward to being of service to you on your healing journey.